Hello and welcome back to the Crystal Vision podcast. I am your host, Olivia Clare, and today we have Bec Cuzzilo on the podcast. She's all about creating confident, consistent cash for your business, getting out of those feast and famine cycles. She's a spiritual and business coach, so she also brings a spiritual perspective to all things business. It's a really good episode. You're going to love it. Make sure you watch and give a 5-star review. Share it on Instagram, all the things, because it will help grow the podcast and get more money in the hands of more women and business owners. Let's do it. Enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome to the Crystal Vision podcast, where we dive deep into the strategies and energetics of business, money, and mindset mastery so as to create the next generation of wildly wealthy women. My name is Olivia Clare and I'm a serial entrepreneur who is obsessed with giving you all of the tools that you need to create your crystal clear vision of success. Each week, you will hone in on your unique zone of genius and embody the highest version of yourself to reverse engineer your way to your dream life. If you're ready to let go of the hustle and effortlessly call in more money, more growth, and more fulfillment, stay tuned. Hi, Bec. Welcome to the Crystal Vision podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to be here with you. I was stalking you on Instagram and I just love all the content that you're putting out. I got like really good vibes, good juju. So I can't wait to sort of get stuck into it. So you support spiritual women to claim their worth and master their mindset so that they can step into the highest vision for their life and business. Oh, I love it. I am a very spiritual person and also a very businessy, business-minded person. So I'm curious, when for you did these two paths sort of intersect and create the magic that you do in your everyday?
So my mum is a professional psychic medium. And so I've been in the spiritual space or around spirituality for a really long time. And so I remember going to, expos with her and helping her out. And even when she first started her business, I remember being like, Mum, we've got to do this in a way that's a bit more modern and a bit more, fun and funky rather than some of the old school traditional psychic mediums, especially back then, very, just kind of stereotypical, very gypsy looking, everyone's wearing velvet and going, ooh, in their photos. And I remember going to expos with her and being like, oh, there's so much opportunity here for these incredible people who obviously have beautiful, incredible gifts to share.
Yeah.
Aren't necessarily, up on branding and business and all of these sorts of things. So I definitely think a seed was planted around that time. But I remember having conversations with people, I was studying at uni and things like that. And I remember having conversations with mum's friends and they were like, one day you'll be in this business. And I was like, no, I'm going to do my own thing. This is mum's thing. Anyway, here I am now.
I love it.
Yeah. And then I actually started my business as a candle maker. So I started making candles. I was trained as a Reiki healer already. So my candles were, very much, about integrating and bringing healing energy through candles. And then I released a goddess range, and alongside that, my mum and I, we ran a women's workshop to kind of celebrate the release of these candles and kind of bring that energy in. And I discovered, I really love this work, holding space for women, kind of supporting them through their personal development, spiritual journey, and kind of got into that space. We were doing a lot of that work. And once I kind of went, this is it, I realized, okay, well, how can I expand on this more? And so I went into one-to-one coaching. I trained as a life coach and kind of started doing spiritual life coaching and working with women one-to-one. And what kind of happened, and I don't know whether you've experienced this, but as women kind of find, their purpose, they kind of step more into their confidence, they go through this spiritual personal development journey, they're like, I really want to help other people do the same thing. And so I had clients who'd come through that with me say, hey, Bec, can you help me start a business? And I was like, well, of course I can help you start a business. And so I kind of fell into it. And I've always loved kind of the process of business building. And, I loved that side of things, of getting into, the strategy and how to build a business in a way that feels really aligned. And so it kind of just happened, and I kind of fell into this space, but it was a really beautiful way to kind of bring, my skill set together with, my background in spirituality and, as a life coach, a mindset coach, that kind of thing. And so blended it all together, and here I am, now 7+ years into my business.
Oh, wow. It's so cool. Like, you can just, I don't know, it's the best when you sort of fall into it, and when it finds you versus you like trying to push and push and push. You are a very spiritual, fiery Aries. I love that. But what I've seen is that you describe yourself as, and your clients also describe you as, practical. So I find this really interesting because we can sometimes assume that the more spiritual a person is, or the more woo-woo they are, the less realistic that they are. So what does practicality look like for you as a spiritual person in your life and in your business?
Oh, I love this question. So I'm very much into grounded spirituality. So when it comes to, the way that I view my spirituality and the way that I kind of practice, I suppose, I don't really think of it as that. I suppose I just think of it as a thing that I am. But I always view it in a way of like, okay, well, what does this mean for me? And so it's very much through like spirituality as a personal growth kind of lens. And, I mentioned before I created Goddess Candles. The reason I created Goddess Candles is because that's the spirituality that speaks so much more to me as, a human. That's kind of my brand of spirituality that I really, really align with. And so the reason I love the goddesses is because their stories are so real and they're very human, as opposed to if you look at other kind of energies like angelic energy or anything like that, that's very much like this high vibration, not super relatable. Whereas goddess energy is very much like, here, present. How can I step into this? How can I use this? What is this teaching me and telling me? And so in my business, I use it in the same way. It's like, okay, what energy do I need to step into today? How can I embody this more? What does that look like? It's very much, through a practical lens of, okay, there's this thing that's coming up, or there's this, perhaps message I keep getting, or this feeling I keep getting. What does that mean? How do I step forward here? What does that look like? And so it's always very much in that, okay, this is happening over here in this spiritual sense, but what does that look like in my life? What does that look like in my business? How am I applying this? How am I embodying this? How am I doing this? And so I've always been like that. I'm very much like a type A, kind of get shit done personality. And I bring that into my business. And I love working with clients who are both intuitive and practical, but a lot of my clients often will sit in that intuitive space where, they have all these beautiful gifts that they want to share. They, are really great manifestors because, they've got that kind of natural energy that they magnetize things to them, but often don't have a lot of that like practical grounded strategy. And that's what I often help them with.
Oh, that's cool. So you kind of can translate that intuition that they hold into practical steps. So you can see both realms of the, I was going to say sphere, but I don't know why I was leaning towards that word, but both realms.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Okay. Thank you for answering that. That makes a lot of sense to me. And I feel like I can relate, like, that embodiment piece is so important when it comes to this type of work. So that's powerful. I want to talk about cash. One of your offers is confident, consistent cash. And just like saying that makes me so like turned on, like in terms of life and business, like it's just delicious energy. So what do you believe is the number one thing that people need to know in order to create consistent cash in their business?
Oh, this is a great question. I think the number one thing they need to know is where they're sitting now and where they want to be, and looking at what that gap is and then going, okay, well, what do I need to do here? I think often what happens, particularly, if you're new to business and you don't, have that strategy brain behind you when it comes to business, and that's okay, right? Like, we're not all born with this innate ability to strategize in business. It's something that can be learned. When you are starting your business or you're looking at this, you might not necessarily know how to get there. And so it's just this desire of I'd really like to get to a place where I'm creating consistent cash in my business. And then it doesn't go any further. And it's no, well, we need to know, okay, well, where are you at right now? And, there are plenty of business owners I know out there who don't love looking at their money and don't love looking at their bank account. And it's no, we got to start by knowing what our numbers are.
Yeah.
And then getting really clear on what the goal is. What do you want to be earning every month? What do you want to be earning every year? What does that look like? And then, are we actually building a business and creating offers? And do we have pricing that matches that? It's all got to be congruent. And I think if you're not looking at it through this lens of, okay, this is where I'm headed, and therefore this is what the business has to look like, you've got to get that kind of sorted first and foremost, and get some really great practices built around, checking in on your money and looking at your money and just being a good steward of money in your business. And then looking at, okay, well, what are those next steps? And that's always very individualized and very personalized to whatever the business is and where you're at and where you're going.
Yeah, it's powerful. I mean, I feel like that also ties back into embodiment, because it's rich people don't get nervous to look at their bank accounts. So why are you nervous to open it? And I'm kettle calling the pot black, however that saying is. We all struggle with this, and we all will at some point. So don't think, if you're listening to this, oh my God, there's something wrong with me, or I'm a bad business owner. Not the case. It's just a question of, is that something that you want to change? And exactly what you said, what are the steps in order to make that change and to get there? Mm-hmm. So powerful, powerful. You are a mother to 2 beautiful children. Is that right?
Yeah, 2. I got 2.
I love it. Did motherhood and the experience of becoming a mother change your approach to business?
Oh, 100%. Yes, it did in many ways. And actually, I really think of my business as kind of pre-motherhood and post-motherhood, because my business changed a lot at that point. So I had been in business for about 3.5 years when I had my first. And so he's almost 4 now, which is wild to me. And it was at that point that I kind of went, okay, what am I doing here? What does business need to look like moving forward? And I got kind of serious about it. Prior to that point, I was working full time in my business and I was making money and I had clients and, that kind of thing. But, if we talk about consistent cash, I wasn't making consistent cash. I was very much on that income roller coaster. I didn't necessarily have that congruence in my offer suite as to okay, well, this is what my goal is. How am I making that happen? It was only after he was born and I invested seriously in a business coach when he was 7 weeks old.
Wow.
And people are like, what? You did what? And even my coach who I'm still working with, she's still my coach. So I've been working with her for almost 4 years. When we started working together, I was I just want to do some stuff on the back end and get some things prepped and get ready for stuff to kind of hit the ground running next year. Anyway, being a typical Aries, I definitely didn't do that. We kind of were launching within, I think, a month or something. And in that kind of aftermath of becoming a mum and, kind of actually going all in and investing, I kind of changed my whole business model and it was, shortly after that, COVID happened. And I had a lot of kind of spiritual people in my community who had, in-person, face-to-face spiritual businesses. And at that time, I ran a program called Move Your Business Online. And I supported, I supported all these women to bring their businesses online. And that's kind of when I went all in on business coaching and kind of built out my business model to what it is today, and have continued to build from there. So my business looks very different now than it did, at that point in time. And it was a real catalyst, I think, for me to go, all right, I need to get serious about this. If I want to make this work, like I need to have a business model that works as a mum. I don't have very much time to actually work. And so my business model has to kind of reflect that. And then, what does my offers look like? What does my kind of niche look like? It all kind of changed from that point.
Wow. I love that. It's, I'm not a mother and probably won't be for a little bit, but I find it interesting. It's interesting as well that it sort of coincided with COVID, because I feel like a lot of people experienced something about 2020. We all had shifts, right? Like
massive
crazy. So yeah, like having a business look so different. And I think that's a testament to you as a business owner, like to be able to pivot in that way and maintain clients, or actually, grow your business to having that confident, consistent cash. Change is good sometimes. Sometimes we need a little pivot or a little life change in order to experience that next level of success that we're looking for.
Yeah, 100%. And, I had my biggest year in business the year after I became a mum, which is like wild because I had significantly less time. That was the year that I, first brought on a team member to help me out. That was the year, like there was just so much expansion that happened, which isn't really surprising when you think about kind of the energy around, that becoming a mother, they call it matrescence, I think, where, you step into motherhood. That energy is very abundant, and it's a very much, this expansion of, who you are and all of that sort of thing, if you look into the energetics of it. So it kind of makes sense. But to, the practical analytical mind, it's like, how? What are you talking about? What are you
More
talking
money
about?
and less time?
Yeah.
What? Yeah. I feel like that's a powerful shift as well for anyone, is when you sort of realize that, oh my God, like actually the less that I work, sometimes the more that I make. And it's just so flipped on everything that we're taught growing up and in school and things like that. So it goes to show like you can do it in an hour a week or in 40 hours a week or 20 hours a week or whatever it is, but it can happen. Amazing. Okay. So let's talk about you. What are you currently passionate about in life or in business, and what's lighting you up?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, we were talking about consistent cash, and that's my new program. So I haven't created anything kind of substantial, in terms of a program for a little while. I've done, little things here and there, but I haven't created, like a new group coaching program for a long time. And this kind of fills a really beautiful gap in my business model, and was something that I was seeing a lot in the space where, business owners want to grow, right? Like they go, I know I want this. I want to create consistent cash. I want to be in this place in my business, but investing in that one-to-one coach or investing in that mastermind, it's either too high level for me, I'm not at that point yet, or it's just really too expensive. Like I don't have the cash flow to make that work for a long-term kind of program. And so I'm really, really passionate about this at the moment because, I really want business owners to succeed. I want spiritual business owners to succeed. That's why I'm in business. That's why I do what I do. I know you feel the same, right?
Yes.
And it was like, there needs to be something that kind of gives people the meatiness of the support they need. Like they need that real solid support, that personalized, tailored support, but at a price point that makes sense for them right now. And so I'm like on this bandwagon at the moment of like,
I love it.
Yeah, how can we make this accessible? Because, that's what's actually going to move the needle forward. But without it being like, something where it's, a huge shock to the nervous system, or, have to take out a loan to do business coaching. Like we don't want to be in that place. We want to be in a place where we're investing in a smart way, but still actually investing and going all in and making that happen.
That is, do you know what? That's so beautiful, because this is something I see a lot in the space where people sort of preach, do whatever it takes, put it on a credit card, or like, you know, literally do whatever it takes, because once you invest, you'll get all this money back. And it's a narrative that I don't agree with. Like, I don't think it's smart to, exactly what you said, put your nervous system in that situation and stress yourself out. I think it's way better to take it slower. And so I love that you're creating an opportunity for people to put a little bit of skin in the game, but not feel like everything is riding on that investment and that it's make or break. So I have a lot of respect for that and for the model that you're creating, because it's definitely, you see some things on Instagram where you're like, really? Like, and I think there's no sort of like pricing standard when it comes to this sort of work either. So people really just will charge whatever. And then, you know, if you don't agree with their pricing, then you're questioning their worth. And it's like got nothing to do with that. I just wish sometimes we had like a structure. This is the part of me, the practical part of me, where I'm like, how can you be charging more than my therapist who's been doing this for 20 years? Like, I don't understand. Something's not adding up. Yeah.
I think, you know, it speaks a lot to the integrity in the space, and it's an unregulated industry. And I think, you know, I was saying to a client the other day, like, there's a lot of cowboys out there, right? Like, we've got to be discerning in how we're investing and, you know, asking the right questions when we're investing in a coach or looking at getting a mentor or spending money on an online course. Like, what are you actually getting? Who's running the program? Like, how much access to them are you getting? Like, actually looking at this and understanding what that investment looks like. I mean, there's some interesting practices out there that, you know, have been getting, for good reason, a lot of flack in the online space, because I think it would be nice to have some integrity in the space. There is obviously that, but I think people are wising up to it too, you know, like people have made some investments and been like, well, that was not worth the money. And now people are going, okay, how do I invest? Who am I investing in? You know, what is the support that I actually need? And am I getting that if I spend, you know, this money? And it's really important for people to be discerning about it, I think.
Yeah. And that is financially liberating too. Like, because that is like another narrative. It's like, oh, well, investing is liberating, and it is, but choosing not to invest because it doesn't make financial sense to you is also so liberating. So I love that. Yeah, that approach. And we'll be putting a link to all of your stuff, obviously, in the show notes, because I'm obsessed. So is that, I guess that's sort of the main thing that you're working on in your business?
I mean, the main way to work with me is through my mastermind program. So, you know, I have a 6-month mastermind, which I love. And that's very much for business owners who are in that place of going, you know, I've got the consistent cash coming in now.
Yeah.
You know, I'm working with clients, this is looking good, but I want to scale. And so that's the other end of my work. And I love being able to do both. And I often will work with clients over a long period of time and have clients kind of come through my earlier stage programs and move on into the mastermind with me, which is just the best thing ever. And so I am really passionate about, you know, helping businesses get to that point where they're, okay, now I'm ready to grow. Now I'm scaling. Now I'm, you know, making good money in my business, not just consistent money, but good money.
Yes.
And I'm able to circulate that, and I'm able to, you know, bring team on to help me, and I'm able to do creative projects and do all of these things that I really want to do. So I love that work too. But at the moment, I'm definitely in this space of like, let's get more business owners to that point.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Oh, I love it. Okay. Final question. What is your crystal vision for the future? So without revealing too much, what is it that you're working towards now that in a few years' time we'll be able to look back and say, oh, she manifested it all?
Oh, that's a good question. So I feel like, something I've been saying a little bit recently is I feel like I'm living in my vision board.
Oh,
So for
goosebumps. That's stunning.
Yeah. And, and it's because, we were talking off air before. I've just moved to the coast. I've got my two boys now. My youngest is 9 months old, and, the kind of the fertility journey we went on to get him was, more challenging than our first. Our first kind of happened and was a lovely surprise. And we thought, this will be easy second time round. Not so. And so we kind of, had a bit of a journey. And that was the point where we were, working towards moving to the coast and having this baby. And this is very much life focused, right? Like not necessarily business focused. And so I feel like at the moment we've kind of landed here, got our beautiful boys, we've got our house on the coast, we can walk to the beach. I'm just like, what is life? What is happening?
I love that. Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So casting the vision forward is like more of this, please. And I think I'm in that phase of almost just like exploring what that looks like and what that could be. Business-wise, I would love to write a book one day.
Ooh.
And just continue on this journey of supporting business owners, I suppose, and growing my mastermind and getting to a place where, I'm working the same kind of hours I am now, or maybe a little bit more once I can have some more childcare and I'm not so attached to a 9-month-old. But yeah, I think it's just more of this, which is really nice to be in that space.
Yeah. I love it. I'm the same. I don't even have goals at the moment for my business because I'm just like, it's happening. Like we're just doing it. But that's beautiful. Like there's nothing better than just being like, you know what? I'm so present. I am living the vision. Like what more could you want?
I think it's a really great lesson too in just like you've got to enjoy the journey of it. You've got to enjoy the moments, and while obviously it's great to have a vision and it's great to have a goal and, what you're working towards. There's also times where you might just be kind of just enjoying the ride. And that's really nice too. You don't have to always be striving for more and, taking it to the next level and doing the next thing. It's like, well, actually, I can just enjoy this for a bit. Let's just enjoy it.
That's the key takeaway, I think, from this episode is everyone just take a second, take today, take the weekend, whatever it is, to just enjoy what's going on, because inadvertently, like 10 years down the track, you'll look back and wish you'd have slowed down for a little bit and enjoyed what right now is. So, I love it. Okay. Is there anything that I didn't ask you or any downloads that are coming through that you want to share with our audience before we can finish off this episode?
Trying to see if there's anything there. I don't think there's anything major. I just would say, I know a lot of our conversation, I suppose, is kind of focused in on, creating cash and getting to that place where you're feeling good in your business and in your life. And I think what's coming through for me is, don't be afraid to dream. Don't be afraid to vision, like have a vision and go after those goals. Enjoy the journey. Something that I've been talking a little bit to my clients about recently is like, you've kind of got to love, if you want to be in business for the long term, you kind of got to love the process of business building. You've got to enjoy that process of going out there and creating something new and launching it and, getting creative with it and being in that space of never arriving, right? Like the only time we arrive at a point in our business, yes, there's things, but there's always the next thing, once you've sold something, it's then delivering it and then you're selling it again, or you're, like there's always something else. And so you've kind of got to love that process and fall in love with it if you want to be in business for the long term, which I assume your listeners do.
Yes, yeah. Definitely do, for sure. That's powerful. Okay, tell us, where can we find you so that we can follow along, we can get confident, consistent cash, we can hang out in the mastermind, give us everything will be in the show notes, but I'll let you speak about it.
Excellent. So the best place to find me is on Instagram at bec.cuzzillo. So come on over. If you've enjoyed this episode, I would love to connect with you. Come and send me a DM. I always respond personally to all my DMs. So come and say hi. And I also have a podcast, so Feminine Fire with Bec Cuzzilo. Yes, over 100 episodes on there. You can come and listen in. Lots in there about creating consistent cash. And yeah, I would love to connect with you.
Amazing. 100 episodes that we can go and binge, guys. Happy days. How good. Okay, thank you so much for joining me today. I absolutely love talking to you. It's so nice when there's another Australian as well. We're on the same time zone. It's amazing. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.